This is Ray Flores reporting. We are joined alongside by a mixed martial arts pioneer here in the Chicagoland area. This man has fought in the UFC, the IFL, and now Strikeforce coming up this Saturday, November 7th, along with being a well-accomplished WEC featherweight and bantamweight. Jeff Big Frog Curran joining us from his facility here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. Jeff, always appreciate the time.
Very good.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy training schedule. You have a busy fight coming up this Saturday, November 7th against Dustin Neese. Your opponent has changed a couple of times, but now they finally settled on an opponent. Give me your thoughts on fighting for Strikeforce. Of any of the organizations you hadn't fought for, now you get your opportunity to fight for Strikeforce and really have fought for every big organization in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I've been with, like you said, UFC, WEC, King of the Cage, IFL, Pride. I've fought for everybody, and one thing that I like to think about for myself, like long term, is that I get to experience all these, these bigger shows and stuff like that. Strikeforce, when I find out they're coming to Chicago, I got really excited. I don't like a big show to come through my town without me being able to be a part of it. So my manager, Monty Cox, went to work and got it done. And they added me to the card. My first opponent, Sam Thao, his record wasn't big enough, so the state of Illinois didn't approve it. Their exact words were they didn't want me killing somebody in their state because I don't think he was going to last very long with me, but that's fine. So they got another veteran opponent, Dustin Neese, who's a 45er, so I'm going to go back up to featherweight for this fight. And he's like 18 and 13 records, so he's got a little over 30 fights. He's a veteran. He's pretty experienced. He's got 14 wins by submission, and that's my style. Let's get out there and mix it up.
Moving back up to 145 is a little bit of a challenge because you fought in 35 a couple of times. You fought Joseph Benavidez in the WEC and then fought Takeya Mizugaki. So give me your thoughts on moving up to 145 yet again. You really have gone from 55 to 45 to 35 after all these years and are still getting top-level fights with big organizations.
Spent like 75% of my fights have been at lightweight at 155. I was at one point really close to being in the top 10 as a lightweight years ago. And I didn't think that I was going to hit the top 10 because the level of competition is so high, but I think it was in the top 20. And then I moved to 145, and I spent almost 10 years in the top 10. And I spent almost 5 years in the top 5, and I spent almost 2 years in the top 2. So it's been like a roller coaster like this. Never hit the #1 spot at featherweight, but had some really good runs and fought all top-level guys. And going down to 35, I thought was going to be a little less pressure on me. Maybe I don't have to worry about the size and strength, but believe me, now that moving down, it's an adjustment for me. I have to deal with a different speed and a totally different level of athleticism, even coming down from 45 to 35. So going back up to 45 now is perfect because just for this one fight, because it's 4 weeks out from the main event of the XFO, which is where I'm going to be fighting at 135 again. It's going to be more of an official weight class fight for me. This is perfect, so I don't have to cut weight twice in a month. I'm 145 pounds right now. I just had lunch. I feel good.
You're using this really as a springboard. That is a big fight. You're really fighting twice in about less than a month period in your hometown of Chicago. You're in Hoffman Estates for Strikeforce this Saturday, the undercard of Fedor versus Rogers, and then December 5th, the big one, Tomohiko Hori, who is a training partner of Takeya Mizugaki. Jeff, how does it feel being able to fight twice in 1 month period in your hometown when a lot of times you only fought maybe one time a year in Chicago if you were lucky to do that?
It's really like going back in time 10 years when I first started. Even when I first started, I never really fought too much local. I started the XFO locally. I launched that show. I fought a few times on that organization under my banner, but most of the time I've been fighting out of the state. So Hoffman Estates, where the Sears Center is, where Strikeforce takes place, is still a half hour away, but it's like a hometown fight. But when I fight December 5th, it's hometown. We're 5 minutes from my house. We're right by all my friends, my family. Everybody's right there. So that's going to be like a real homecoming.
It really seems that way. I mean, you helped to build the XFO based on your reputation and the tough fights you had. I mean, you know, a lot of times when you see organizations that have their own fighters, it's rather you see easy fights or build-up fights. You fought Rafael Asuncao at your own fight at the Sears Center, which you're returning to this Saturday. Now you're fighting Tomohiko Hori. Let's look a little bit further to December 5th. Give me your thoughts on that fight. You're looking to gain some retribution from what I gather, potentially, because it is the training partner of Takeya Mizugaki, correct?
Correct. Every XFO I've ever headlined, I've decided that, you know, I'm not going to be that guy that just brings in some guy on the street, pays my friend to take a fall for me. I know a lot of guys have done that. My first XFO 1 was when I fought Dan Swift. It was a good comeback fight for me. I was coming off losses to Kid Yamamoto and Matt Serra. I needed to down it a little bit, but other than that, I fought UFC veteran and tough veteran Jason Dent, Steve Kinnison, who was a 155er, pretty good 155er from the area, Rafael Asuncao, who was 9-0 at the time, now one of the top contenders in the WEC at 45, and this time through, after my last fight in the WEC with Takeya Mizugaki, I got done with this fight. It was discussed with the judge's decision. I know I win the fight. I didn't want to lose any of my momentum, any of my mental strength, I guess, I had coming up in and out of that fight. So I started dealing with a Japanese manager right away. Actually, Mizugaki's manager helped me find one of his training partners and top opponents. And I brought him in to headline him, and now the pressure's on. You know, I get to fight in my own show against a top-level guy. And this guy, Hori, he's a very good stand-up fighter. I believe his only losses by decision, 2 decisions at 145, 2 or 3 decisions at 145 against guys like Imanari and Sam Aziz, who are all very high-level top 10 guys. So at 135, he's an undefeated guy. He's very dangerous, and we're going to mix it up.